I'm Marc Adams with GBGI. I'm really excited today to present our new hybrid cast row units. This is something that's been about 7 years in the making. We started working with precision planting dealers right around 6 or 7 years ago on disc opener assemblies. And as we got to know those dealers and the growers that they worked with, it really became apparent that there were a lot more shortcomings in OE parts than we even imagined going into it. So as we worked through a bunch of these parts with our dealers and with our growers, we listened and we learned, and we just tried to grow upon anywhere that was going to be a wear point of these row units. So basically that led us to where we're at today, what I'm standing next to, and GBGI is now offering complete cast hybrid row units. So we are able to supply from the W brackets on the frame clear back to closing tails all of the component parts for a cast row unit. How that started, like I said, is on the disc openers. So what we did on the disc openers, we went from a stamped steel housing to a cast housing that we're machining. And the reason I start with that is because we are a machine shop, but we are also a full line assembly operation as well. So we control the press fit of the bearings into those housings, and we also control all of the machine operations. We zinc plate the hubs. So we went from there and we listened to our customers. What we were seeing is on the parallel linkage itself, the material that was the bushing that is inside of the actual arms was harder than the material of the parallel arm itself, both the lower casting and the upper. So what we did is we used precision machining to machine out our bores on our parallel arms, and we press in a two-piece heat-treated bushing system. So the outer bushing would be slightly harder than that of the inner bushing. So now instead of wearing out your complete parallel arm assemblies, the wear point is just on that inner bushing. We didn't stop there. What we did is we also started sourcing all of our hardware that you see within this row unit and the parallel linkage here in the United States. We use shoulder bolts, so we don't want to ride those bushings on threads. We use fine threads for clamping force as well. And so that's just a few of the things that we did with the parallel linkage. And then we'll jump down to the gauge wheel arms. There was some things that we heard from growers where basically the OE system was a threaded bushing system to where the threads of the actual bushing would run on threads within the housing. And so when those threads, when they would go through the field, they would pound on each other and loosen up, and growers would constantly have to go in and readjust and reset their bushing so that they would stay tight on their gauge wheel arms. What we did is we have a complete new system. It's a two bearing system, but then it also has a heat treated bushing in between. That ensures that the two bearings can't be over tightened to where they crunch together and eliminate the actual use of the gauge wheel arm to set that depth. So what we've also done is we've heat treated the entire cast surface of that gauge wheel arm. There's a wear point where you'll hear guys call it the mustache. It rides on the gauge wheel arm, and because that mustache is harder than the surface of the arm, you'll hear people talk about dimpling that you get on the gauge wheel arms. So what we've done is we've actually heat treated that gauge wheel arm to slow down that wear. They're not too like alloys, so you can't completely eliminate it, but we significantly slow it down. When we started going through all these components, one thing just kept coming up to us when we worked with our dealers, and that was that everywhere that they were buying their shanks, which is the main body of the row unit itself, it was basically either a refurbished John Deere shank or they had to buy it direct from John Deere dealers. And we thought, well, we're already offering all these other wear components, and we are a machine shop, and we've been working on all these wear items with our dealers. Why not offer a shank as well so that we can offer the complete system to guys that want to go and replace from the W bracket back, or if they've broken some shanks, bent some studs, then they have that option to replace those components. So what we've done on our shank is quite a bit different than what is in the industry today. We basically looked at the pitch of the disc openers first. That of an XP row unit is what that pitch is set to. So it's a little bit less aggressive, puts a little bit less stress on the bearings for the discs. but also it maintains that true V that growers are looking for when they're putting seed in the trench. The other thing that we did is we've basically mimicked an ME5 body so that you can run this with an ME5 way pin system. However, we've added a few improvements. So we actually machine out the inside of this Cast Shank so that we can accept any seed tube. So you can run narrow seed tubes, you can run the wide seed tubes, you can also run precision speed tube, you name it. We basically made it a hybrid so that you can run it that way. This is also available to Kinze growers. So Kinze growers that are having issues when they put on Delta Force or any of the hydraulic downforce systems where they're bending or breaking shanks, now you have the option to run a Cast Shank and a cast row unit. So what we do is we basically paint all this black for you. We do have the Kinze parallel arms, same bushing system as we use on our John Deere row units, same hardened bushing system. Guys with pusher units and pull units, we've got you covered. All of this is Delta Force ready, so it's all equipped with the option to run Delta Force. But then also you're now getting a cast goalpost that we have made, and then also the Cast Shank that Deere growers are able to use. Now, the other big benefit that you get from going to this system is that you now have gauge wheel arms that are not directional. That means you can flip them. So when you get wear on the arm, it's essentially the same system that John Deere is using. However, you're now going to be able to flip them. They're heat treated, and it is our two bearing system with the heat treated spacer in between. So there's a lot of different things we can do with these row units. The hybrid part of it that comes in for us is where it actually bolts up to the goalpost. So we machine it two ways. We machine it to accept the John Deere goalpost, which we also can supply, and then we also accept it to go up against our Kinze goalpost. One thing to note on Kinze is that we will want to sell you the goalpost with the shank because it's a unique mating surface that we're machining here, and that's something that we had to do to ensure that this row unit will function properly. We did just start offering cast closing tail assemblies too. Those closing tail assemblies are unique because they also use the two-piece bushing system that we have in our parallel arms. So you get the hardened bushing on the outside, you get the slightly softer one on the inside, and basically what that does is it helps to take slop out of your closing system. Now, all of this stuff that we brought to market it's unique because it's working specifically with the growers. So this is one way that we've built this business and we've built these products. We've learned a lot over the last 6 or 7 years, but it's because we get to work with customers like our precision dealers and ultimately with the growers. We listen, we see where the shortcomings are in the field, and we're really excited about this and to see how far we can take it and how much more we can do because we are focused on the complete row unit system now and all the wear points and where we can better serve you as the grower in the field and help you to plant more true.